The Śūraṅgama Sutra, Volume 3, 81. Upon closer examination, you will find that the robe is set in order by yourself. The face blown by the wind belongs to the person by your side, and the emptiness is tranquil and not involved in movement. So where does the wind come from that blows in this place? The wind and emptiness cannot mix and unite, since they are different from each other. Nor could the wind exist spontaneously without an origin. You still have not realized that in the treasury of the Tathagata, the nature of wind is true emptiness, and the nature of emptiness is true wind. That fundamental purity pervades the Dharma realm. Beings' minds absorb it according to their capacity to know. Ananda, in the same way that you alone shift your robe slightly and the air is stirred, so too if a similar movement were made throughout the Dharma realm, the air would stir everywhere. Since wind can arise throughout the world, how could there be any fixed place to which it is confined? Whatever manifests does so in compliance with karma. Ignorant of that fact, people of the world are so deluded as to assign their origin to causes and conditions or to spontaneity. These mistakes, which arise from the discriminations and reasoning processes of the conscious mind, are nothing but the play of empty and meaningless words. Ananda, the nature of emptiness has no shape. It is only apparent because of form. For instance, Shravasti is far from the river. So when the Kshatriyas, Brahmins, Vaishyas, Shudras, Bharadvajas, Chandalas, and so forth build their homes there, they dig wells seeking water. As a square foot of earth is removed, a square foot of emptiness becomes evident. As 10 square feet of earth are removed, 10 feet of emptiness become evident. The depth of the emptiness corresponds to the amount of earth removed. Does that emptiness come out of the earth, or does it exist because of the digging? Or does it arise by itself without a cause? Ananda, if that emptiness arose by itself without any cause, why wasn't it evident even before the earth was dug? All that could be seen was the vast expanse of solid, impenetrable earth. If emptiness came about because of the removal of the earth, then as the earth was removed, the entering of the emptiness should be visible. If no emptiness entered when the earth was first removed, then how could the emptiness come about because of the removal of the earth? If no removal or entering took place, then there would be no difference between the earth and emptiness. Not being different, they would be the same. In that case, wouldn't the emptiness be removed from the well along with the earth in the process of digging? If emptiness appeared because of the digging, then the digging would bring out emptiness instead of the earth. If emptiness did not emerge because of the digging, then the digging should only remove the earth. Why, then, do we see emptiness appear as the well is dug? Consider this even more carefully. Look into it deeply, and you will find that the digging comes from the person's hands engaged in that act, and the earth exists because of its removal from the ground. So what causes the emptiness to appear? The digging and the emptiness, one being substantial and the other insubstantial, are not compatible. They do not mix and unite, nor could emptiness exist spontaneously without an origin. Although the nature of emptiness is completely pervasive and basically unmoving, you should know that emptiness, earth, water, fire, and wind are called the 5 elements. Their natures are true, perfectly fused, identical with the treasury of the Tathagata, and neither come into being nor cease to be. Ananda, your mind is murky and confused, and you do not awaken to the fact that the source of the 4 elements is none other than the treasury of the Tathagata. Is the emptiness you see subject to removal or entering, or is it not subject to removal or entering? You still do not realize that in the treasury of the Tathagata, the nature of enlightenment is true emptiness, and the nature of emptiness is true enlightenment. That fundamental purity pervades the Dharma realm. Beings' minds absorb it according to their capacity to know. Ananda, wherever there is an empty well, emptiness fills that well. The same is true of emptiness in the 10 directions. Since emptiness fills the 10 directions, how could there be any fixed place in which it was found? Whatever manifests does so in compliance with karma. Ignorant of that fact, people of the world are so deluded as to assign their origin to causes and conditions, or to spontaneity. These mistakes, which arise from the discriminations and reasoning processes of the mind, are nothing but the play of empty and meaningless words. Ananda, the seeing awareness does not perceive by itself. It depends upon form and emptiness for its existence. You are now in the Jeta Grove, where you see the brightness of the morning and the darkness of the evening. Deep in the night you see brightness when the moon arises, and darkness are discerned by the seeing. Is the seeing identical in substance with brightness, darkness, or emptiness, or are they not of the same substance? Are they the same and yet different, or are they neither the same nor different? Ananda, suppose seeing shared a single substance with brightness, darkness, or emptiness. Darkness and brightness cancel each other out. When it is dark, there is no light. When it is light, there is no darkness. If seeing were one with darkness, it would cease to exist in brightness. If it were one with brightness, it would cease to exist in darkness. Since it would cease to exist, how could it perceive both brightness and darkness? If brightness and darkness differ from each other, and that seeing has neither existence nor ceasing to exist, how can it be of the same substance with brightness and darkness? If the essence of seeing were not of one substance with brightness and darkness, and you were separate from light, darkness, and emptiness, then what shape and appearance would the source of the seeing have? In the absence of darkness, brightness, and emptiness, the seeing would be the same as fur on a tortoise or horns on a hare. How could there be seeing without the presence of the 3 attributes of brightness, darkness, and emptiness? How could the seeing be one with darkness and brightness, since they are opposites? Yet how could it be different from these 3 attributes, since in their absence there would be no seeing? How could the seeing not be one with emptiness, since no boundary exists between them? But how could the seeing not differ from emptiness, since the seeing remains unchanged, regardless of whether it is perceiving brightness or darkness? Examine this in even greater detail. Investigate it minutely. Consider and contemplate it carefully. The light comes from the sun, and darkness from the new moon. Penetration belongs to emptiness, and solidity returns to the earth. So where does the essence of seeing arise from? Seeing has awareness, while emptiness is inanimate. They do not mix and unite. Nor could the essence of seeing arise spontaneously without an origin. If the natures of seeing, hearing, and knowing are pervasive and unmoving, you should know that the stable, boundless emptiness, together with the unstable elements such as earth, water, fire, and wind, are together known as the 6 elements. Their natures are true, perfectly fused, identical with the treasury of the Tathagata, and fundamentally devoid of coming into being and ceasing to be. Ananda, your nature is so submerged that you have not realized that your seeing, hearing, awareness, and knowing are basically the treasury of the Tathagata, Contemplate seeing, hearing, awareness, and knowing, to see whether they are subject to coming into being and ceasing to be, whether they are identical or different, whether they are not subject to coming into being and ceasing to be, and whether they are neither identical nor different. You still do not realize that in the treasury of the Tathagata, the nature of seeing is enlightened brightness, the essence of enlightenment is bright seeing. That fundamental purity pervades the Dharma realm. Beings' minds absorb it according to their capacity to know. Just as the eye's capacity to see pervades the Dharma realm, so too do the capacities to hear, smell, taste, make contact, and know. All those capacities are glorious, magnificent qualities. Since they pervade the Dharma realm and fill all emptiness in the 10 directions, how could they be found in any fixed location? Whatever manifests does so in compliance with karma. Ignorant of that fact, people of the world are so deluded as to assign its origin to causes and conditions, or to spontaneity. These mistakes, which arise from the discriminations and reasoning processes of the conscious mind, are nothing but the play of empty and meaningless words.